Jake Morrison sat in his office on Mars Colony 7, reading reports about trade disputes between human settlements. The work was boring but important. As Earth's senior diplomat for the outer colonies, he spent most days solving problems that seemed small, but could grow into big troubles if ignored. His computer made a soft beeping sound. A new message appeared on his screen. The sender made Jake sit up straight in his chair. It came from Admiral Lisa Carter at Earth Command. Jake, drop everything. Emergency meeting on Luna Station. Come immediately. This is bigger than anything we've dealt with before. Jake had worked with Lisa for 15 years. She never used words like emergency unless something was really wrong. He packed his bags and caught the next transport ship to Luna Station, Earth's main government center on the moon. The trip took 2 days. Jake spent the time wondering what could be so important. Earth had been at peace for 20 years. The human colonies were growing and doing well. Trade with the few alien species they knew was good. Nothing seemed wrong. Luna Station looked busy when Jake arrived. Military ships moved in and out of the docks. Soldiers walked through the halls with serious faces. Something big was definitely happening. Admiral Carter met Jake at the transport dock. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Her uniform was perfect as always, but Jake could see worry lines on her face. "Thank you for coming so fast," she said as they walked toward the government building. "We have a situation." A big one. They entered a secure meeting room. Jake saw Dr. Alex Rodriguez sitting at a long table. Alex was Earth's best expert on alien cultures. If he was here, this was about more than human problems. 3 days ago we got a message, Lisa began. It came from something called the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. They claim to control 3,000 star systems in this part of the galaxy. Jake felt his stomach drop. 3,000? That's impossible. We've only met a few alien species. That's what we thought, Alex said. He activated a holographic display. But our deep space sensors confirm it. There's a massive civilization out there. They've been watching us for years. The hologram showed a map of local space. Thousands of dots marked Zephyrian systems. Human space looked like a tiny island in a vast ocean. What do they want? Jake asked. Lisa handed him a datapad. Read this. It's their message. Jake read the words twice before they made sense. The Zephyrians claimed that human space belonged to them. They wanted tribute payments every year. Rare metals, advanced technology, and 10% of all human colony populations as workers. 10% of our people? Jake said, that's slavery. They call it administrative assistance, Alex said. My research shows they've done this to 50 other species. The ones that refused were destroyed, Jake kept reading. The Empire gave humanity 30 days to agree. If they refused, the Zephyrians would use corrective measures to bring humans into line. How many ships do they have? Jake asked. Our best estimate is over 10,000 warships, Lisa said. Each one bigger than our largest battleship. They could destroy every human world in a few months. The room went quiet. Jake stared at the map, thinking about his daughter on Earth and his brother's family on the farming world of New Montana. Millions of families like his lived across human space. Now aliens wanted to take their children and make them slaves. So what's the plan? Jake asked. You're going to meet with them, Lisa said, at a neutral station near Kepler 442. You'll negotiate the best deal you can. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. Negotiate? They're not asking for anything. They're demanding everything. Maybe you can find a way to reduce their demands, Alex said. Get better terms. I'll take a team with me, Jake said. Alex, I need you to come. Your knowledge of alien cultures could help. And I want Captain Maya Johnson for security. Lisa nodded. Maya's good. She knows how to handle dangerous situations without starting fights. When do we leave? Jake asked. Tomorrow. The diplomatic ship Terra's Voice is ready. You have 2 weeks to reach the meeting point. Jake spent the rest of the day reading everything Earth knew about the Zephyrian Empire. It wasn't much. They were an old civilization, ruling the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Their technology was advanced, their military was huge, and they had never lost a war. Every species that tried to fight them was crushed. The survivors became part of the Empire, sending tribute and workers to support Zephyrian worlds. It was a system that had worked for centuries. That evening, Jake called his daughter Sarah. She was 25 and worked as a teacher on Earth. He couldn't tell her about the aliens, but he wanted to hear her voice. Hi, Dad, she said when her face appeared on his screen. How's Mars? Same as always, Jake said. How are your students? Good. We're studying the history of human expansion into space. The kids love hearing about the first colony ships, Jake smiled. Human children learning about their species reaching for the stars. If the Zephyrians had their way, those same children might never see space except as workers in alien mines. I have to go on a business trip, Jake said. I might not be able to call for a while. Okay, be safe, Dad. I will. I love you. Love you too. The next morning, Jake met his team at the spaceport. Alex brought several cases of research materials. Maya wore civilian clothes, but Jake could see her sidearm under her jacket. The Terra's voice was Earth's newest diplomatic ship. It was fast, comfortable, and carried powerful sensors to gather information. The crew of 12 was hand-picked for the mission. As they left Luna Station, Jake watched Earth grow smaller in the window. The blue and green world looked peaceful and beautiful. Somewhere out there, aliens with more power than humans had ever imagined were waiting to meet him. Jake had been a diplomat for 20 years. He had solved trade disputes, prevented small wars, and helped human colonies work together. But this was different. This time, he wasn't just representing human interests. He was fighting for human freedom. The Terra's voice jumped into hyperspace, heading toward what might be the most important meeting in human history. Jake didn't know what he would say to the aliens. He only knew that somehow he had to find a way to protect his species from becoming slaves. The meeting station was huge. Jake had seen pictures, but the real thing made him feel small. The structure was 10 kilometers long and 5 wide, floating in empty space near a dead star. Ships from dozens of different worlds filled the docking bays. Captain Maya Johnson guided the Terra's voice to their assigned dock. Through the windows, Jake could see alien vessels he had never imagined. Some looked like metal forests with twisted branches. Others were smooth spheres that seemed to glow from within. All of them were much larger than any human ship. Impressive, Alex said, studying the alien designs. This station is older than human civilization. Look at those support structures. Jake was looking, but not at the architecture. He was watching the other ships. Everyone belonged to a species that had surrendered to the Zephyrian Empire. Their crews would be servants now, working for alien masters. A Zephyrian escort met them at the airlock. The alien was 7 feet tall with dark green scales and yellow eyes. It wore a uniform covered in symbols that probably meant ranks and honors. When it spoke, a translation device on its belt turned the words into English. Ambassador Morrison, I am Commander Sectalan. The High Arbiter waits for you. They walked through corridors filled with aliens. Jake saw dozens of different species, all wearing the same type of collar around their necks. The collars were small and looked harmless, but Alex whispered that they were probably neural control devices. They can control behavior, Alex explained quietly. Make people happy to be slaves. The meeting hall was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows above them. Dozens of alien delegates sat in rows watching the humans with curious eyes. At the front of the room, on a platform that made him tower over everyone else, sat High Arbiter Veltharion. The Zephyrian leader was the largest living thing Jake had ever seen. His scales were deep purple with silver markings. His eyes were ancient and cold. When he moved, Jake could hear the sound of metal against metal. Parts of his body had been replaced with machines that made him stronger and smarter. Humans, Veltharion said. His voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. Welcome to our empire, Jake stepped forward. Protocol required him to show respect but not submission. He bowed slightly. High Arbiter, thank you for meeting with us. Sit. We have much to discuss. The humans took their seats at a small table facing the platform. Jake felt like a child sitting in front of a judge. Around them, representatives of conquered worlds watched with expressions he couldn't read. Some looked curious. Others seemed sad. Veltharion activated a holographic display. Images of human worlds appeared in the air. Earth, Mars, the colony planets, space stations, mining operations. The Empire had been watching humanity for years. Your species has grown quickly, the High Arbiter said. 50 years ago, you were confined to one world. Now you claim 15 systems. Impressive for such a young race. We're explorers by nature, Jake said. We like to see what's out there. Indeed. But your expansion ends now. These systems belong to the Zephyrian Empire. They have belonged to us for 1,000 years, before your species learned to make fire. The High Arbiter gestured, and new images appeared. Documents written in flowing alien script filled the air. Our laws are clear. All intelligent species in this galaxy serve the Empire. In return, we provide protection, technology, and guidance. It is a beneficial arrangement for everyone. Jake read the translation that appeared on his tablet. The demands were exactly what Earth Command had described. Massive tribute payments, technology transfers, and 10% of the human population every year. These terms seem rather one-sided, Jake said carefully. Veltharian made a sound that might have been laughter. Your species is new to galactic politics. You do not understand how things work. Allow me to educate you. The holographic display changed. Now it showed worlds under attack. Massive Zephyrian warships fired energy weapons that turned cities into glass. Planets burned. Populations fled in terror. The Kentari thought they could negotiate better terms, Veltharian explained as the images showed aliens being herded onto transport ships. They were a proud species. Excellent warriors. They chose to resist. The display showed the final battle. A fleet of alien ships tried to fight the Zephyrians. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the Kentari homeworld was a dead rock. This was 50 years ago, the High Arbiter continued. Today, the surviving Kentari are happy members of our empire. They serve in our mines and factories. Their children learn Zephyrian values in our schools. Jake watched one of the alien delegates in the audience. The being had the same body type as the Kentari in the recording. It wore a neural collar and stared ahead with empty eyes. The choice is simple, Veltharian said. Accept our generous terms and join the Empire willingly. Your people will be treated well. You will keep your local governments and many of your customs, or resist and suffer the fate of the Kentari. Alex was taking notes on his tablet. Maya sat perfectly still, but Jake could see her eyes moving, studying exits and potential threats. Both of them were smart enough to stay quiet and let Jake handle the talking. I understand the situation, Jake said. These are serious matters that require careful consideration. What is there to consider? Veltharian asked. You are 50 worlds with a few hundred warships. We are 3,000 worlds with fleets that darken the stars. Mathematics is the same for all species. Even so, I need time to study your proposal. My government will want detailed information. The High Arbiter was quiet for a long moment. His ancient eyes studied Jake as if he was looking at an interesting but insignificant creature. Very well. You have 3 days to review our terms. I suggest you spend this time wisely. Study the records of species that chose poorly. That evening, Jake and his team had dinner in their assigned quarters. The food was acceptable, though it tasted strange. Everything on the station was designed for Zephyrian convenience. What do you think? Jake asked his companions. Alex pulled out a small device that would block listening equipment. They're confident. Maybe too confident. Did you see how they displayed their power? It was like a show designed to scare us. It worked, Maya said. Those ships could crush our entire fleet. But there's something else. Did you notice the other delegates? Jake nodded. The neural collars? They're not allies. They're prisoners. Exactly. This isn't an empire. It's a slave operation. They conquer species and use them as workers. The tribute system keeps the slaves dependent while the Zephyrians get rich. So what do we do? Alex asked. Jake was quiet for a while, thinking. Outside their window, alien ships moved through space like schools of metal fish. Somewhere beyond them, human families were going about their lives, not knowing that their freedom hung in the balance. We learn everything we can, Jake said finally, about their ships, their technology, their weaknesses. And then we go home and give them our answer. What answer? Maya asked. Jake smiled, but his eyes were hard. The same answer humans have always given to bullies. Jake spent 2 days studying everything the station's computers would let him access. The Zephyrian Empire was older and larger than he had imagined. Their records showed conquest after conquest, stretching back centuries. Every species followed the same pattern: contact demands, submission or destruction. On the morning of the 3rd day, Jake sent a coded message to Earth. The transmission would take weeks to reach home, but it contained everything his team had learned: ship designs, fleet positions, technology assessments, and most importantly, his recommendation: proposal unacceptable. Recommend alternative approach. When the meeting time came, Jake walked into the great hall with steady steps. Alex and Maya flanked him, both carrying datapads loaded with information. The same crowd of alien delegates watched from their seats, but today Jake noticed something different. Some of them leaned forward as if they were actually interested in what would happen. High Arbiter Veltharion sat on his platform like a metal mountain. His ancient eyes tracked Jake's movement as the human approached the speaking area. "Ambassador Morrison," the Zephyrian leader said, "have you considered our generous offer?" Jake stopped in front of the platform. He looked up at the massive alien and spoke in a clear, calm voice that carried throughout the hall. "High Arbiter, I want to thank you for your hospitality and for taking the time to explain your empire's policies. After careful consideration, I must respectfully decline your offer." The hall went completely silent. Jake could hear the hum of the station's life support systems. Somewhere in the background, a translator device made confused beeping sounds as it tried to process what Jake had said. Veltharion stared down at Jake for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than before. "I do not understand. Repeat your statement." "We decline," Jake said. "Humanity will not pay tribute to the Zephyrian Empire. We will not surrender our technology or our people. We choose to remain independent." The translator devices around the hall started making more noise. Several alien delegates turned to each other with what looked like confusion. One of them, a being with blue skin and 4 arms, stood up and pointed at Jake as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Veltharion raised one massive hand and the hall fell silent again. His eyes had changed from cold to something that might have been anger. "No species has ever refused our offer," he said. "Perhaps you do not understand the consequences." "I understand them perfectly," Jake replied. "You'll threaten us with your fleets. You'll show us more recordings of worlds you've destroyed. You'll tell us that resistance is futile, and that we should be grateful for your protection." Jake gestured to Alex, who activated a holographic projector. Images filled the air above the human delegation. "Dr. Rodriguez has spent the last 2 days studying your empire," Jake continued. "Would you like to share what you've learned, Alex?" Alex stood up, consulting his notes. "The Zephyrian conquest model relies on psychological pressure, combined with overwhelming force. Target species are contacted when they're technologically inferior and politically divided. The Empire offers protection while demanding tribute that keeps the subjects dependent." More images appeared. Charts showing resource flows, population movements, and economic data. "The system works because conquered species believe they have no choice," Alex continued. "But humans have a cultural trait that your psychological profiles might have missed. We call it stubbornness." Several alien delegates were now standing and talking to each other in excited whispers. Jake noticed that the being with blue skin was staring at him with what looked like hope. Veltharion's voice became dangerous. "Your stubbornness will not stop our fleets, human." "Maybe not," Jake said. "But you might want to consider some other factors before you send those fleets." He nodded to Maya, who activated her own projector. New images appeared, detailed technical specifications of Zephyrian ships, fleet positions, and defense networks. "Captain Johnson used to be our military intelligence chief," Jake explained. "She's very good at gathering information. For example, did you know that your shipyards in the Rigel sector are operating at only 60% capacity due to worker shortages?" Veltharion leaned forward on his platform.
"How did you obtain classified information?"
"Oh, we've been busy," Maya said with a smile. "Human ships have been conducting scientific surveys throughout this region for months. We've mapped your trade routes, cataloged your fleet positions, and identified several interesting weaknesses in your empire." The images changed again, showing star charts with human ships marked in dozens of systems. "You see, we knew about your empire before you contacted us," Jake said. "We've been preparing for this meeting for a long time. While you were studying us, we were studying you." Alex stepped forward again. "Our analysis shows that the Zephyrian Empire is economically unstable. Tribute-based systems always are. You require constant expansion to support your population, but expansion becomes harder as you move farther from your core worlds." "Impossible," Veltharion said. "Our empire has lasted 1,000 years, and it's been slowly declining for the last 300, Maya added. "Your own records show increasing rebellion rates, resource shortages, and fleet maintenance problems. You need our tribute more than we need your protection." Jake walked closer to the platform. "But here's the real problem with your conquest model. It assumes that every species will react the same way. Submit or be destroyed. You've never met a species that had a third option." "What third option?" the High Arbiter demanded. Jake smiled. "We make friends." The holographic display changed one more time. Now it showed a massive fleet of ships in formation. The vessels were sleek and advanced, clearly more sophisticated than anything in the hall. "Meet our allies from the Andromeda Galaxy," Jake said. "The hegemony of free worlds. They've been looking for a way to establish themselves in this galaxy for quite some time. We've offered them basing rights in human space in exchange for defensive technology and military support." Veltharion stood up from his platform, his massive form towering over the hall. "You would bring outsiders into our galaxy?" "Already have," Maya said cheerfully. 3 Andromedan battle groups are currently positioned in human space. Their weapons are quite impressive. Would you like to see the specifications? The hall erupted in noise as alien delegates began talking at once. Several of them were arguing with their Zephyrian handlers. The being with blue skin was now standing on his chair, shouting something in his own language. "You cannot do this," Veltharion said. "It violates galactic law, and whose law?" Jake asked. "Yours? We never agreed to be part of your empire. We never signed your treaties. As far as we're concerned, we're free beings making agreements with whoever we choose." Alex pulled out another data pad. "Speaking of agreements, we've prepared a counter-proposal. Humanity offers to establish fair trade relationships with any world that wants them. No tribute, no population transfers, no neural collars. Just honest commerce between equals. We've also prepared mutual defense pacts," Maya added. "Any world that wants protection from aggressive neighbors can apply for membership in our defensive alliance. All they have to do is renounce slavery and treat their people with dignity." Jake looked up at Veltharion's furious face. "So that's our answer, High Arbiter. We don't want to join your empire, but we'd be happy to help you transition to a more modern form of government when you're ready." The Zephyrian leader's translator device was making continuous beeping sounds now. Around the hall, chaos was spreading as conquered delegates realized they were watching something unprecedented. Someone saying no to the empire and having the power to make it stick. "This meeting is over," Veltharion announced. "You have made a grave mistake, humans. We will remember this. So will everyone else," Jake said quietly. The Zephyrian delegation requested a private meeting the next morning. Jake was not surprised. Bullies always tried harder when their first attempts failed. High Arbiter Veltharion brought only 2 advisors to the smaller conference room. His massive form barely fit through the doorway. When he sat down, the chair creaked under his weight. "You are making a serious mistake," he began without any greeting. "The Andromeda aliens cannot protect you. They are too far from their home galaxy to maintain a large presence here." Jake leaned back in his chair. "Maybe, but they don't need to maintain a large presence. They just need to make attacking us more expensive than leaving us alone." Alex opened a folder and pulled out several documents. "High Arbiter, our research into your empire's history shows an interesting pattern. You prefer easy victories. When conquest becomes too costly, you move on to softer targets." "We have never retreated from a challenge," Veltharion said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Maya smiled. "Really? What about the Nexus Rebellion 40 years ago? Or the Outer Rim Uprising 60 years ago? Both times you negotiated settlements rather than fight expensive wars." One of the Zephyrian advisors, a smaller being with silver scales, whispered something to the High Arbiter. Veltharion's expression grew darker. "How do you know about those events?" he demanded. "We told you we've been studying your empire," Jake said. "Did you think we only looked at the victories you show off? We found the records you tried to hide. The failed conquests, the negotiated settlements, the worlds that bought their freedom with technology trades." Alex spread more documents on the table. "Your empire is held together by the belief that resistance is impossible. But if one species successfully defies you, others will start to wonder why they're paying tribute." "Impossible," the High Arbiter said. "Our subject species are loyal." Maya laughed. "Loyal? Have you seen the rebellion reports from the last 5 years? 17 worlds in open revolt, 36 more showing signs of unrest and productivity dropping across 40% of your industrial systems." She activated a small holographic projector. Images showed Zephyrian troops fighting alien rebels on a dozen worlds. Factories stood empty. Transport ships traveled with military escorts. "Your tribute system is failing," Jake said. "It was always going to fail. You can't build a civilization on slavery and expect it to last forever." Veltharion stood up, his full height making the room feel small. "Even if what you say is true, it changes nothing. We still have the largest fleet in the galaxy. We can still destroy your worlds." "Yes, you can," Jake agreed. But at what cost? Our Andromedan allies have shared some interesting technology with us. New defensive systems, improved weapons, better ships. Destroying humanity would require a significant portion of your fleet. While you're busy with us, Alex added, what happens to all those rebellious worlds? How many systems will declare independence while your fleets are fighting humans? The silver-scaled advisor whispered more urgently to Veltharion. The High Arbiter's expression shifted from anger to something that might have been worry. You are bluffing, he said. Your species is too young to have such sophisticated strategies. Jake pulled out his own tablet and activated it. A new hologram appeared, showing a detailed map of Zephyrian space. Red dots marked rebellious worlds. Yellow ones showed unrest and green indicated loyal systems. There was a lot more red and yellow than green. This intelligence came from the Andromedans, Jake explained. They've been watching your empire for centuries, waiting for signs of weakness. When we approached them for an alliance, they were very interested. Maya stood up and walked to the window overlooking the docking bays. In fact, they've been so helpful that we've decided to expand our partnership. 3 more Andromedan fleets are on their way to this galaxy. To do what? Veltharion demanded. Provide security for any world that wants to leave your empire, Jake said. Free shipping protection for independent planets. Technical assistance for civilizations developing their own defenses. That sort of thing. Alex pulled out another document. We've already received formal requests from 12 of your subject worlds. They want to join our defensive alliance. The room went very quiet. The silver-scaled advisor was now speaking rapidly in the Zephyrian language, clearly agitated. Veltharion's ancient eyes moved between the humans as if he was seeing them clearly for the first time. This is all very interesting, he said slowly, but you have overlooked one crucial factor. We know where your worlds are. If we cannot conquer you, we can certainly devastate you. Make the cost of defying us so high that other species will not dare to follow your example. Jake nodded. That's exactly what we thought you'd say. It's the classic bully response. If you can't win, threaten to hurt innocent people. And that brings us to our final card, Maya said, turning from the window. She activated her communicator. Terra's voice to home base. Execute Operation Lighthouse. A new voice filled the room, speaking in clear English. Acknowledged. Lighthouse is active. All targets illuminated. Veltharion looked confused. What is Operation Lighthouse? Jake smiled. For the last 6 months, human reconnaissance ships have been placing sensor beacons throughout Zephyrian space. Very small, very hard to detect, but very effective at tracking ship movements and communications. The holographic display changed again. Now it showed real-time positions of every major Zephyrian fleet, updated every few minutes. Ship names, crew complements, weapon specifications, and current orders scrolled past in neat columns. We know where every one of your battleships is right now, Alex said. We're listening to your military communications. We've mapped your supply lines and identified your critical infrastructure. Maya sat back down. More importantly, we've shared all this information with our Andromedan allies and every rebel group in your empire. Your enemies now know exactly where to strike for maximum effect. The Silver Advisor was now pulling frantically at Veltharion's arm, speaking in rapid, urgent whispers. The High Arbiter brushed him away, but his confident manner was gone. You have turned this galaxy into a battlefield, he said. No, Jake replied. We've turned it into a free market. Species can choose their own governments, make their own trade agreements, and defend themselves however they see fit. The only battlefield is in the minds of those who insist on ruling others. Alex leaned forward. High Arbiter, your empire doesn't have to end in destruction. You could transition to a confederation of independent worlds. Keep the benefits of cooperation while eliminating the costs of oppression. Many of your worlds would probably stay in a voluntary association, Maya added. Trade networks, cultural exchanges, mutual defense agreements. All the good parts of an empire without the slavery. Veltharion looked at each human in turn. His expression was unreadable, but Jake could see calculations happening behind those ancient eyes. And if we refuse? He asked. Jake shrugged. Then you fight a war you can't win, lose most of your fleet, and watch your empire collapse anyway. But with a lot more people dying in the process. The High Arbiter was quiet for a long time. Outside the conference room, Jake could hear the sounds of the station continuing its normal operations. Ships docking. Aliens walking through corridors, life going on while the galaxy's political future hung in the balance. This meeting is concluded, Veltharion said finally. We will consider what you have said. As the Zephyrians left, Jake felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. The hardest part was over. Now they would find out if humanity's gamble would pay off. 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of Luna Station watching ships arrive for the first Galactic Freedom Conference. Vessels from dozens of worlds filled the space around Earth's moon. Some were sleek Andromedan cruisers, others were converted Zephyrian cargo ships flying new flags, and many were designs Jake had never seen before. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, not destroyed but transformed into something unrecognizable. The process had been faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks of the meeting at the neutral station, 3 Zephyrian worlds had declared independence. The High Arbiter sent fleets to bring them back into line, but the rebels had Andromedan weapons and human intelligence about fleet movements. The first battles were disasters for the Empire. While Veltharian's forces were fighting rebels, 12 more worlds announced they were leaving the Empire. Then 20, then 50. The tribute system collapsed as planets stopped sending resources to the core worlds. Admiral Lisa Carter joined Jake at the window. She wore a new uniform with insignia, marking her as commander of the Joint Defense Fleet, a military alliance of free worlds. "Hard to believe how fast it all changed," she said. "Empires built on fear fall apart quickly once people stop being afraid," Jake replied. "How's the integration going?" "Better than expected. The Andromedans are good teachers and the former Zephyrian worlds are eager students. Everyone wants to learn how to defend themselves." Through the window, Jake could see construction ships building new orbital facilities. Earth had become the informal capital of the growing alliance of free worlds. Not because humans ruled anything, but because they had been the first to say no to the Empire. Dr. Alex Rodriguez hurried onto the observation deck, carrying a tablet and looking excited. "Jake, you need to see this," he said. "We just got a message from the Zephyrian core worlds." Jake took the tablet and read the translation. The message was from someone calling himself First Minister Kexvalon, representing the Zephyrian Federation of Autonomous Worlds. "They want to join our defensive alliance," Alex explained. "Apparently they've overthrown the High Arbiter and established a democratic government." "What happened to Veltharian?" Lisa asked. "Exile," Alex said, "along with the other leaders who supported the Empire. The new government says they want to make amends for centuries of oppression." Jake handed back the tablet. "What do you think? Can we trust them?" "Their actions speak louder than their words," Alex replied. "They've released all their slave populations, dismantled the neural collar factories, and opened their historical archives to war crimes investigators. Captain Johnson's people have verified most of it." As if summoned by her name, Maya Johnson entered the observation deck. She had been promoted to Director of Alliance Security, responsible for coordinating intelligence between member worlds. "Speaking of verification," Maya said, "we've confirmed that 17 former Zephyrian worlds have established functioning democracies. 23 more are in transition with Andromedan assistance. Only a handful are still trying to maintain the old tribute systems." "And how are those working out?" Jake asked. Maya grinned. "Not well. Hard to collect tribute when your subjects can buy better weapons from your neighbors and get free military training from the Andromedans." The conference officially began the next day. Jake had been elected as the first Galactic Ambassador, a position he never wanted but couldn't refuse. Representatives from 87 worlds gathered in the great assembly hall that humans had built on the lunar surface. The hall was designed to accommodate every known species. The atmosphere was carefully controlled, the gravity was adjustable, and translation systems handled over 200 languages. It was a symbol of cooperation replacing conquest. Jake opened the conference with a short speech about the principles of freedom and self-determination. Then he turned the floor over to the real work: trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, cultural exchange programs, and technology sharing arrangements. The being with blue skin that Jake remembered from the neutral station was there, representing the Nexari Republic. He had introduced himself as Minister Black's Tehran and thanked Jake privately for showing his people that resistance was possible. "Before the humans said no, we thought we were alone," he had explained. "Now we know that freedom is something worth fighting for." On the third day of the conference, Jake received an unexpected visitor. The silver-scaled Zephyrian, who had been Veltharian's advisor, requested a private meeting. "My name is Silkarnath," the being said when they met in Jake's office. I served the High Arbiter for many years, but I was also secretly helping the resistance movements on several worlds. Why? Jake asked. Because I saw what the Empire was becoming. A machine that consumed worlds and peoples and gave nothing back. I knew it would eventually destroy itself, but I hoped someone would find a way to make the transition less violent. Silkarnath pulled out a small device and placed it on Jake's desk. This contains the complete records of the Zephyrian Empire. Every conquest, every treaty, every secret deal. I offer it to the Alliance as a gesture of good faith from the new Zephyrian government. Jake picked up the device. It was heavier than it looked, as if it carried the weight of centuries of history. What happened to the High Arbiter? Jake asked. He fled to the Rim worlds with a few loyal fleets. He has declared himself emperor of the true Zephyrian Empire and promises to restore the old ways. But most of our people want no part of it. We are tired of being ruled by fear. The conference continued for 2 weeks. By the end, the foundation of a new galactic order had been established. The Alliance of Free Worlds would provide mutual defense and facilitate trade. The Andromedan hegemony would contribute advanced technology and military training. Earth would serve as a neutral meeting ground for diplomatic negotiations. Most importantly, any world could join or leave the Alliance freely. No tribute, no forced labor, no neural collars. Just cooperation between equals working toward common goals. Jake's final meeting of the conference was with a young Zephyrian diplomat named Kira Seth. She was part of the first generation to grow up without neural conditioning, and she had requested Earth's help in establishing her world's first democratic elections. My people don't know how to choose their own leaders, she admitted. For 1,000 years, the Empire chose for us. We need to learn how democracy works. It's not easy, Jake warned her. Democracy is messy and sometimes slow. People will disagree about everything, and you'll never make everyone happy. But they will be free to disagree, Kira Seth said. Free to speak their minds, free to choose their own paths. That's worth any amount of difficulty. After the conference ended and the delegates returned to their worlds, Jake found himself back on the observation deck, watching the stars. Earth was no longer an isolated world on the edge of civilization. It was part of something larger, something better than any empire. Alex joined him there, as he often did when Jake needed to think. Any regrets? Alex asked. Jake considered the question. The path they had chosen was not easy. There would be conflicts, disagreements, and probably wars with the remnants of the old empire. Building a civilization based on freedom was harder than maintaining one based on fear. No regrets, Jake said finally. We did what humans always do when someone tries to make us kneel. We stand up. And help others stand up too, Alex added. In the distance, a ship was departing for one of the former Zephyrian worlds. Its crew would be teachers, engineers, and doctors, helping former slaves learn to govern themselves. Other ships would follow, carrying trade goods, cultural ambassadors, and defensive technology. The galaxy was changing, one world at a time. And it had all started with a simple word that empires never expect to hear. No.